Okay, so chat, the topic at hand, bro. Let's just talk about it, bro. The Sony PlayStation 5, bro. Yo, bruh, listen. I have a lot to say about this, and I'm going to say a lot about this. I have a lot of yapping to do. If you were here on yesterday's stream, we talked a little bit about the PS5 Pro because we knew that this was happening. We knew that this event was going to happen and that they were going to announce the PS5 Pro. And yesterday, I was on stream saying, yeah, I'm going to get one. I'm excited for one. And the main reason why I was excited for one is because I remember when I got the PS4 Pro, right? If you guys don't remember, I believe the PS4 Pro launched, I think it was like $100 more than a PlayStation 4. And it did provide quite a not substantial, but a nice boost in performance for games. I knew that bitch was gonna be $700. Saba, no the fuck you didn't. Please shut the fuck up. But regardless, you know, the PS4 Pro, you know, came out and I ended up copping that. And the main reason why is because, you know, I like playing, you know, the Sony exclusive games, and I liked playing them in the high frame rate modes, you know, 60 FPS performance mode and stuff like that. And a lot of the times, the only way to do that was on the PS4 Pro. It wasn't that much more than a regular PS4. And plus, at that point, the PS4 had been out for so long. And not only had the PS4 been out for so long, but we got quality out of the PS4 as well, right? We got quality out of the PS4 as well. You know what I'm saying? Like that first year or two was rough on the PlayStation 4. But after those first couple years, it started to hit. And I believe the biggest reason why the PlayStation 5 has not felt like that is Sony's own doing, right? Because all of their games need to be these big, massive AAA budget type releases. We don't really get that many games, okay? And if you do get a game that comes out, right, you could have still played it on your PS4. You know, like Ragnarok, for example, maybe the best game on PlayStation 5. I would argue maybe FF16 is there, but FF16 is now on PC. But regardless, you know, for a time it was exclusive. Ragnarok, best game on PS5, you could play that on PS4. Miles Morales, you could have played on PS4, right? The actual exclusive games, you got what? Last of Us 2 remastered. Like, okay. Spider-Man 2, solid game. FF16, solid game. I think that game, I don't think FF16 is really a console seller for most people, but, and you know, now you can just play it on PC. Demon Souls, right? Astrobot now, which that one is actually valid, but are you buying a console for Astrobot? Probably not. There's Rebirth, which, Stellar Blade, Rise of the Ronin, you know, there's not, like, but the first few years of the PS4, okay, Bloodborne, to this day, one of the greatest, one of the best Soulsborne games, one of the best FromSoft games ever, period, right? People still clamor about that shit, right? Uncharted 4, people consider that one to be the best Uncharted game. I don't think this was within the first, like, 5 years or so. I think it came out a little after, but Death Stranding was right around that time, which again, I know a lot of people maybe don't like that game or whatever, but you had the first Marvel Spider-Man, you had Horizon Zero Dawn, which is a brand new IP that, even though it is mid, it is wildly successful, right? Like, what do you have on the PS5 that is matching, you know, those first, that first like 5 or so years of the PlayStation 4? You know, the first 5 years of the PlayStation 4 also had Persona fucking 5. I don't think that there's like no games on PlayStation 5. I think we've gotten some really great games that have come out, like stuff like Baldur's Gate 3, Elden Ring, you know, a bunch of other bullshit or whatever. But like, there's nothing that's like that you like that's you could only, there's no like PS5 exclusive experiences. And the main reason why I bring this up is because obviously I've been saying that I think that the Xbox Series consoles are much better than the Sony consoles for years. You guys know me, I've been saying this. And people be like, oh, no games. But really, like, what experiences have you had on PS5 that feel special? Like, what experiences have you had on PS5 that's like, damn, I could have only got this on a PS5? The only one for me was FF16. So one experience out of, when the fuck did the PS5 come out? Did the PS5 come out in 2020? So the first 4 years, I've had one like great experience on it. Like, and it's probably gonna be 2 when I play Astrobot. So I'm gonna just go ahead and throw that in there. two great experiences on PlayStation, right? Like Baldur's Gate was another generational experience. I played that on PC, right? Elden Ring, another generational experience. I played that on PC. So it's like, what did the PS5 really give me that I couldn't have gotten elsewhere, right? Because let's say I never had a PlayStation 5, the only game I missed out on was FF16. Like, would I have experienced FOMO with stuff like Rebirth? Oh, absolutely. I would have probably bought one for Rebirth regardless. I would have regretted that purchase, but I would have done it, you know? So, like, at Ragnarok, you could have played that on PS4. Astrobot I have not played yet. That one I'll probably add onto there as well. What experiences did you really get, bruh? At the end of the day, if you were a big Spider-Man fan, you got Spider-Man 2. You got that for you, right? So you got like one like great experience in 4 years. Like, are we being serious? Like, if the PlayStation 5 is your only console, then you've had plenty of great experiences. You've had Elden Ring, you've had Baldur's Gate, you've had, I'm trying to think of other AAA games that have come out that have been really good. I can't really think of anything besides those two. But whatever other AAA or third-party games that have come out, right? Like, you've gotten all of that, right? Like, great experiences for sure. If you would have gotten a PC, or if you don't like PC, if you would have gotten an Xbox, you really wouldn't have missed out on anything. And in fact, I would say you would have had a better experience on Xbox, because what I'm saying with Xbox is that there are a lot of features that Xbox has that the PlayStation does not. The Xbox launched with 1440p support, which a lot of people that play on monitors, you would have been able to have 1440p support out the gate. It took the PS5 like a year or so to get that. You also have Xbox Game Pass, which everybody always talks about, everybody always yaps about. I don't have to pay for Black Ops 6. Like, Black Ops 6 is going to be $70, right? And if I was only a PlayStation gamer, I just have to eat that, right? I don't have to pay for Black Ops 6. I'm not going to have to pay for Avowed when that comes out. I'm not going to have to pay for that shitty-ass Indiana Jones game or whatever. You know, I'm not going to have to pay for none of that, right? I mean, you do pay for it with Game Pass, but regardless, like, I would have that aspect going. And that's what I'm talking about right now. I do think that, you know, Game Pass could change in the future and become harmful in the future, but it's not yet. So I'm talking about the experience right now, right? You didn't have to pay for Persona 3 Reload as well. That is another one. You didn't have to pay for that. I could have played the entire Yakuza series on Xbox Series X and all that, right? And then Xbox also goes a step further, right? Backwards compatibility. Like, backwards compatibility is one of those things that a lot of people on the internet try to pretend like they don't care about. But if Sony had announced that you could put a PS1 disc or a PS2 disc into your PlayStation 5 Pro last night or this morning, people would have lost their fucking minds if you could have done that. Because Sony has such a rich history, has such a rich catalog of video games, right, that you would have been able to experience. The Xbox Series consoles have been building on that backwards compatibility thing for years now. And now there's games that you can play that came out on the 360, that came out on the original Xbox, that get upscaled to 4K 60 FPS. And it looks great. It looks like how you would run it on like an emulator, but you're running it off the real disc on a real console. And not to mention, Xbox still has a disk drive. It bothers me in the same way that like the niggas that be talking about iPhone bothers me. Like, you really don't see anything wrong with being a slave to a company. Like, you don't see nothing wrong with that. Like, you really don't mind that Sony controls every aspect of your favorite hobby. You don't care about that at all. Like, you don't care that you just signed up to be Team PlayStation and you just dick ride. Like, you don't give a shit. Like, not even a little bit. Like, so you're gonna go out and buy this PS5 Pro, which, by the way, they made all of these promises with the PS5 Pro, 45% faster frame generation or rendering, whatever the fuck they said. You're gonna be able, like, all the PS5 games that you have to choose between fidelity or performance mode, you're gonna be able to play the fidelity mode of the game, but then also run it at 60 FPS rate. All of these promises. But you know what the fucked up part is? When the PS5 launched, I'm pressing Microsoft on this too, because Xbox said this as well. They said the new baseline will be 4K 60. They said that that is what we should come to expect for this generation, right? Starfield launched 30 FPS. Avowed gonna be 30 FPS. Dragon's Dogma 30 FPS. Final Fantasy 16 and Rebirth ran like complete and utter dog shit. If you played in performance mode, you're playing with blurry ass fucking 720p looking ass graphics, barely struggling to hit 45 FPS. Inexcusable off of what was promised to us. Now, these consoles are capable of a lot. We see Horizon Forbidden West. We see God of War Ragnarok. You know, we see these games that run great, run beautifully, are amazing or whatever, but that's not the whole case. And another thing that I feel like people are really not taking into account as well, you have to understand something, right? The PS5 having all of this power to render graphics and to render games in this way, like this is only going to make the games industry worse. Do you realize this? Games are already 4, 5, 6-year development times. Concord, 8-year development times. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars of a budget towards a AAA release. This is wildly unsustainable, and the more that developers and publishers push for shit like this, the worse this issue is going to get. We got God of War 1 and 2 on the same console. We got Devil May Cry 1, 2, 3 on the same console. We got like 65 Ratchet and Clank games on the same console. We got 3 Crash Bandicoot games on the PS1. This is what we used to be able to get. Now we get one fucking title per generation. We will be lucky if the next God of War game comes out on the PS5.
Full Metal Alchemist.
The fact of the matter is that the next God of War game is probably a PS6 title. Like, this is where video games are going. The next FF7 part, that one might come out on PS5. It looks like they figured their shit out and they're getting the ball rolling on that. But that shit might be PS6. And this shit that's happening in the video game industry is permeating across all forms of media, right? Like, there's a big talking point right now with like TV shows, for example. TV shows taking 3-4 years in between seasons. Like, this is insane. This is unsustainable. Like, now when a new season of a show comes out, I gotta rewatch the season that came before it because I don't remember what the fuck happened. This shit was 3 years ago. Bro, when the next God of War game comes out, bro, I might not even be a streamer anymore. I might have fallen off into irrelevancy. The only developer that really seems to be able to release games on a timely schedule is Insomniac. The fact that they have given us Miles Morales, Ratchet and Clank: Rift Apart, and Spider-Man 2 on the same console, like, they're the anomaly. Like, I don't understand how they fucking do it. I'm gonna be honest. I really don't get that shit. I don't get how that's possible. But regardless, they're able to do it. But every other AAA developer, like, we are waiting. Like, what is the next Naughty Dog game? They have been riding on The Last of Us 2 since, when did The Last of Us 2 come out? In 2020. It's been 4 years. It's been 4 years since The Last of Us 2. And since then, they have given us The Last of Us 2 remastered. Oh, my bad. The Last of Us Part 1 remastered as well. How could I forget? I don't think this console generation pushed the bar that high with games so far because most of the games also come out on a 10-year-old console. The reason why the games are still coming out on PS4 and on previous gen consoles is because they need to, for profit's sake, right? If they release a game only on a PlayStation 5, if they release shit only on the PlayStation 5, that is dwindling their base. That is dwindling the amount of people that could potentially buy this game. And the games are having such high budgets, they can't really afford to do that, right? Another thing that people have been talking about as well, the Sony PlayStation 3 released in 2006 for a whopping $600. Damn. And that was enough at that time to almost bury Sony. We're talking about the Sony that made the PS1, that made the PS2. Some of the best moments, some of the best games ever made. If you were to adjust for inflation and take into consideration what the PS3 released at in 2006 at $600 and compare that to the PlayStation 5 Pro at, $700, $80 if you want the disc drive, and $20 if you want the fucking vertical stand as well. By the way, the stand that came with the PS5 originally, the thing that they spent like 5 cents on plastic to make, yeah, $20 for that, sold separately, of course. We're looking, the PS5 Pro is more expensive than the PS3. The main difference between the two is that you could still just buy a PS5. Like, you don't really have to buy a PS5 Pro, whereas the PS3 was obviously the only option. It was their console, right? Like, so it's not really an apples to apples comparison, but it's like, I think this just goes to show how out of touch Sony is. Because like, where is their head at with this console? The games that they showed, The Last of Us 2, which already looks like phenomenal, Horizon Forbidden West, which already looks phenomenal. The only thing that like made me be like, wow, was when they showed Rebirth. Because FF7 Rebirth looked fucking awful on the PlayStation 5, and then when I saw what it looked like on the Pro, I was like, wow, that actually looks a lot better. But is that $700 better? A YouTuber I watched said if you buy the PS5 Pro plus the stand and disc drive, you're spending about $1,000. It's probably closer to like 900 or so with tax and shit like that. But that's not even to go into other regions. Like, the $700 price tag is actually the cheapest. I believe in the UK or Europe, whatever, if you adjust for like the economic difference in the currency, they're actually spending like $900, right? If you're adjusting for New Zealand, Australia, they're spending $1,200. And this goes into another issue. This is another proponent of why I was against the price increase in video games to begin with, because I knew for 100% fact that the video game prices increasing was not going to benefit the industry at all. It was just going to make shit more expensive for the sake of making them more expensive. The PlayStation 5 controllers are now $75. PlayStation Plus got more expensive. The PS5 base model got its price increased, I believe in Japan or China. It was one of those two. Or maybe even both, I don't fucking know. And now the PS5 Pro for 700 beans. Yeah, this to me is very reminiscent of PS3 era Sony, where they're untouchable. Microsoft fumbled so fucking bad. Microsoft made so many stupid fucking decisions. When I said on Twitter that you can buy right now a Series X with 2 years of Game Pass Ultimate, which is the highest tier subscription you can get on Xbox, and it would still be cheaper than a PS5 Pro, people were like, well, but that's not a PlayStation though. That's not a PlayStation though. And it's like, okay, what about PlayStation keeps you loyal to it? Okay. Is it the single player games? Okay, so you've had Spider-Man 2. What else? It's those AAA games, right? Okay. Would you like to play PS3 era games on your PlayStation 5? Well, go fuck off. There's rumors that they're going to be bringing that, and you're going to be able to download them and run them and stuff like that. That's cool. That's pretty fire. But the range of games is going to be so limited as to what you can play, right? On the series consoles, there are literally thousands, and I'm talking about multiples of thousands of 360 and original Xbox games that you can pop the disc into your Series X right now and play them. Like, for video game preservation and just like, and video games in general, if you just care about this shit, like that alone is an insane value add, right? And I know what a lot of people are going to be thinking, well, Xbox ain't got no games, Xbox ain't got no legacy. A lot of the games that we grew up with, that we love, that we're like, wow, like I used to love this game, a lot of them were multi-plat, okay? Like, especially if you think about Gen 7, and fucked up part is a lot of the games in the 7th generation it ran better on Xbox because the PS3 was such a nightmare to develop for. We're talking about Dragon Age Origins, we're talking about the original Mass Effect series, we're talking about Batman Arkham series, we're talking about the Assassin's Creed series, we're talking about all the games in that 7th generation that people would consider to be like some of their favorite games of all time. You can play them all on your Series X. Every last one of those, like Batman Arkham, if you still have your 360 copy laying around, you just pop that shit in. And a lot of these games have even gotten, what Sony's gonna do is they're gonna make their developers, make a remaster for the game and then charge you another 70 or 60 or however much they charge for their shit. So that way you buy that shit up front. You're like, okay, well, I gotta cop that now. On Xbox, they updated it. I can play Sonic Generations right now, 4K 60 FPS on my Xbox, and it looks fucking gorgeous, by the way. Like I played Sonic Generations on my Series X, and it looks like I'm playing it on a PC, and I'm playing the original 360 copy. I'm playing the original 360 copy. And look, this is not me trying to dick ride a corporation either, because like I said, if you're assigning yourself to any one of these corporations, if you're dick riding any of these corporations, you're a fucking moron. Like straight up. Like the reason why I have an iPhone and an Android phone is because I'm not loyal to none of these niggas. The second Android start fucking up, I'm switching to my iPhone, bitch ass nigga. Right now, I'm mad at Apple. I'm team fuck Apple because I think Apple's decisions they're doing is pissing me off. I don't like, so I'm on Android right now. But a few years ago, I was pissed off at Android. Y'all niggas got no consistency. Y'all niggas some bum ass niggas. Y'all niggas some hoe ass tricks. I was on iPhone a couple years ago. I don't give a fuck. I'm a slut, nigga. I don't give a damn. You what the fuck? I'm gonna go wherever the fuck I think represents me the most. And it's funny. It's funny because a couple years ago, I had done that same thing. I was like, man, Sony, y'all niggas tripping. Y'all niggas tripping. So I was primarily on Xbox. I was playing 2K on Xbox. I got a bunch of third-party games on Xbox. I was on Team Xbox. And then last year, I was like, okay, let me go back to Sony. You know what I'm saying? Microsoft started doing some stupid laying niggas off, raising prices, stuff like that. Some minute shit, some minute. I'm like, y'all niggas, y'all kind of pissing me off. I don't like y'all. So I started crawling back to PlayStation. I resubscribed to PlayStation Plus. I was like, let me see what this hitting on. And it seems like every decision they've made since I've been coming back has been stupid, and now I'm about to go back to Xbox. The fucked up part too, okay, is that a large reason why Xbox is in the position that it's in right now is because on one fateful day in 2013, they said that their Xbox console was going to be exclusively online and that digital was the future, digital gaming was the future, and they were going to go all in on that. And 11 years later, they are still paying the price for that. And then Sony does this, and I gotta see Sony fans saying, don't like it, don't buy it. Like, do you guys not even realize the ramifications of your dick sucking? Like, do you not, like, y'all got the Sony symbol so far down your esophagus, the balls hitting the underside of your chin with how much they throat fucking you, that y'all don't even, they charged you $200.
What the dog doing?
Mickey, shut the fuck up, I'm speaking. But thank you for the 30 months. I greatly appreciate that. Y'all paying my bills, type shit. They charged you $200 for a DualSense controller with a screen in the middle of it. Okay? The device is actually a solid device. Okay? This device can only stream video games from your PlayStation 5, right? You can't really play nothing on it, right? And it doesn't have the latest Wi-Fi protocols on. It doesn't even have Wi-Fi 6. What the how are you gonna make a streaming device that doesn't even have Wi-Fi 6? And the fucked up part is, We're on Wi-Fi 7 now. Like, bro, Wi-Fi 5 has been out since like 2003 or some shit. And that's what the PlayStation Portal released on. I did see the PS5 Pro has Wi-Fi 7. I saw that. They put that in a little blurb. Oh, this shit got Wi-Fi 7. How about the fucking streaming device you made that don't got Wi-Fi 7? How does that make any fucking sense? No OLED screen either? Man, y'all are cooked, bro. What the fuck is happening? And the most egregious thing ever, on my PlayStation Portal, aka my PlayStation streaming device, I can't use the PlayStation streaming feature. You know how on PlayStation you can stream a game instead of downloading it and running it locally or something like that? Like you could stream PS3 games, PS4 games, PS5 games, PS2 games, whatever. You could stream those games. You can't do that on a Portal. Why? For the first like year and a half that the Portal was released, you could not sign into public Wi-Fi. You know how you go to a hotel and you connect to their Wi-Fi and you gotta like go on their site to like sign in so that way you can use their Wi-Fi? You couldn't do that on the Portal. You had to hotspot off of your phone. The PlayStation Portal, a mobile, handheld, portable gaming device, did not have Bluetooth. It does not have Bluetooth. If you want to use wireless headphones on your PlayStation Portal, you have to use the proprietary Sony headphones. The proprietary Sony headphones. The only headphones in the world that will work with your Portal. And this is the shit that I've been trying to say about Sony for so long. Now, it is also important that I reiterate this. Microsoft is not much better. Nintendo is not much better. This is true. But when you are the market leader experiencing complete market dominance like Sony is, you're able to go through all of this shit with no checks and no balances, and you're able to absolutely fuck niggas over. You just are. Just like how Nintendo can fuck. That's why if you try to buy Breath of the Wild right now, Breath of the Wild came out in 2017, by the way, still $60. You want to play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, a game that came out on the Wii U like fucking 15 years ago, $60. Because nobody's touching Nintendo. Nobody can fuck with Nintendo. That's why they're able to do stuff like that. That's why PlayStation is able to make a PS5 Pro or make The Last of Us Remastered for the 700th time, and niggas are still going to buy it. When people say video games are dying, I think they're sort of mispointing the finger, right? Because there are still amazing video games being made every single day. Great games, generational games, okay? But the industry is in such trouble right now that we may experience like a video game crash, like no funny shit. It's unsustainable right now. $300 million budgets, job security at an all-time low, right? You would think being a developer under the Sony umbrella or under the Microsoft umbrella would be a safety net. And you would think releasing, critically acclaimed games like Gravity Rush, like Bloodborne, like Hi-Fi Rush would net you security in your job. You would think when Sony comes to you as a developer and says, yo, Overwatch is really successful right now, and we want to make a competitive hero shooter to compete with them, take as much time as you want, whatever the fuck, that they would have your back. They shut that game down in a week. A lot of games that had rocky launches went on to succeed greatly. Fallout 76 is one of them. Fortnite. People don't really remember this, but Fortnite used to be a tower defense game. Like that's what it originally launched as. And then they made this quirky little side mini game that was a battle royale, and now Fortnite's the biggest fucking game on the planet. Rainbow Six Siege fucking flopped when it came out. That game flopped when it came out. Now, one of the most competitive and one of the most revered first-person shooters. No Man's Sky flopped. I mean, Cyberpunk didn't really flop. It still sold well. It was just dog shit. But I mean, Cyberpunk actually became a video game. FF14 was so bad that they removed the game from the PlayStation 3 store, went on stage, said, yo, I am deeply sorry that we did that to y'all. We're gonna go back into the hyperbolic time chamber. We're gonna grind out a real video game and we'll get back to y'all. And now FF14 is one of the most beloved MMOs. Giving up on a game like that, I think just speaks volumes to Sony's vision and to how Sony treats video games. The fact that they gave up on Concord in a week is crazy. Now, do I think Concord would have ever been successful? Nah, I don't really think so. Like, that game would have to have changed so much in so long. I don't think it could have ever been successful. But a week? God, you didn't even give them a chance, dude. I've seen crazier things happen. You didn't even give them a chance. Fallout 76 did get a resurgence, but also Fallout 76 has like a major IP attached to it. So it always had that opportunity to do so. I think if you're making a game like that, it's got to be free. Yeah, for sure. That game just had like obviously a really big budget and like graphically and everything like that. Like it looked amazing. It was clearly like, it clearly had more going for it than like a standard like free to play hero shooter. But the fucked up part is that why would you ever play Concord when you can play Overwatch 2 for free? Or shit, Marvel Rivals coming out #soon. And I'm not gonna lie, when Marvel Rivals comes out, I'm never playing another hero shooter, bro. You got me fucked up, bro. Hold on, this cannot be real. Games industry layoffs is not the result of corporate greed, and those affected should, quote, drive in Uber, says ex-Sony. No, that can't be real, right?
I don't think it's fair to say that the resulting layoffs have been greed. I always tried to minimize the speed with which we added staff because I always knew there would be a cycle, and I didn't want to end up having the same problems that Sony did, electronics. So we never really, now of course there was just recently a big layoff of the Sony studios in London.
Yep.
But that whole studio setup has been run out of Amsterdam now for a few years, and I don't know if the money isn't coming in from the consumers. And on the last game, it's going to be hard to justify spending the money for the next game. I think it's probably very painful for the managers, but I don't think that having skill in this area is going to be a lifetime, of poverty or limitation. It's still where the action is, and it's like the pandemic. But now you're going to have to take figure out how to get through it. Drive an Uber or whatever. Go off to the beach, find a cheap place to live, and go to the beach for a year.
What?
But keep up with your news and keep up with it, because once you get off the train, it's much harder. But I'm optimistic about the future for even people that have just recently been laid off, and these things do recover sometimes a lot faster than you might think when all is very, precarious. I presume a lot of people were paid some kind of a decent severance package, and
making a lot of assumptions
that
there.
Runs out, that's life.
Have you talked to any developer, bro? Do you actually know what people are saying? Do you know any? He said, go find a cheap place to live and go to the beach for a year. Motherfucker, where do you think you could do that at? Can I be honest, chat, about the PS5 Pro for 1 second? I'm going to actually be a little bit against the grain for just 2 seconds. Walk with me. I don't think the fact that the Sony PlayStation 5 Pro is $700 is the barrier to entry for me personally. I can understand that being a barrier of entry and being a problem for most people. If Sony had come out, right, and said, here's the PS5 Pro, it does this, that, and the third, it's got this much more power, blah, 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 whatever, Here's some games that are running on it. Here's some new games that are going to be taking advantage of this. And also like it has the disk drive already included. It has the fucking vertical stand already included, whatever the fuck. And if they said some shit like, and it also like has, because we were able to make this more powerful and make this, you know, a beefier thing, you can now play PS3, PS2, PS1 games on it. I would have easily spent $700. If they went up and said, disc, you can play PS1, 2, 3 on it, I'm buying it immediately. Immediately, it's getting bought. Because realistically, the PlayStation 5 is in this weird situation wherein it's not akin to the PS3 in the sense that like you can still buy a PS5 and still play all of these games. You can still do that. Nobody, like, you don't have to buy a PS5 Pro, whatever. This thing is for like the complete enthusiasts that want the most performance, that want the best, whatever, blah, 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 whatever. And I would have done it, but I am taking a moral stance and I am voting with my wallet. I will not buy a PlayStation 5 Pro because I do not support Sony as a business. I do not support what they're doing to video games. I do not support what they're doing to consumers. Like, I could buy a PS5 Pro if I wanted to. Like, shit, y'all heard me yesterday. I was like, I'm buying a PS5 Pro. I was expecting it to be $600. I was even expecting to have to buy the disc drive separately. I was like, yeah, I'll probably buy it. Like, I mean, I'm a streamer. I like playing the games at the highest quality. I was like, yeah, I'll buy it. Like, in all actuality, an extra like $100 is not that much. Like, if I really wanted it, like, I would just buy it. But you got me fucked the fuck up. We're talking $800 I'm gonna have to spend on this thing. And with the combination of that and the way Sony's been moving and the way Sony's been acting, man, fuck y'all. And y'all not getting $1 out of me. I'm trying to find a way to get 2K on Xbox right now, so that way I can cancel my PlayStation Plus and leave my PlayStation in the dust again. I thought it was $700. So it's $700, but then $80 for the disc drive. After tax, you're spending over $800 on it.
All right, so I got a few talking points on this whole shit, right?
Okay.
The whole PS5 Pro and everything. The underlying issue, right, or issues with modern game development. One, unsustainable ballooning costs of development, right?
True.
Two, the constant hunt for the next golden goose egg in the live service field. You got Concord, you got Suicide Squad, you got X Defiant, all flopping, all fumbling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you also got fucking Sony and a bunch of these other companies that are just unwilling to take a loss on the hardware end like they used to. You get me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, these dudes used to sell you a console at a loss, make that money back on licensing, services, and their storefront taking like 30% of each purchase. Right? Like,
This is true.
Hold up a second. I need to do some math real quick because I'm going to use fucking Elden Ring as an example here. Elden Ring didn't launch at 70. Elden Ring launched at 60.
Yeah.
Right? Elden Ring launched at $60. Sony takes 15% of all physical sales and 30% of all digital sales. Right? So if Elden Ring sold around or over 30 million copies, and we take into account the splits of the market, and PlayStation sales would be estimated between like 15 to 18 million. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So on the low end, also split the physical and digital. On the low end, Sony off of Elden Ring made 216 million beans.
Shit.
That's not even their game, bro.
That's a nice amount.
You know, if we're going on the high end, they made 260 million off of Elden Ring alone. Like, we're not talking about Fortnite skins and the 30% to take from all of those cuts. We're not talking about 2K. We're not talking about any. Elden Ring alone, they are walking away with at least 200 plus mil, bro. Right? So when people talk about like, oh, games are expensive, these motherfuckers are making 200 mil off of someone else's work. I don't want to fucking hear about games being expensive. Right? Now imagine all the other third-party titles include the active PS Plus users paying for subscriptions, $80 minimum. Fucking, I think it's like 150, 180 for the PS Plus Premium, some bullshit like that. Right? Like, it's just, it is mind blowing how these motherfuckers are just roasting people's pockets. Right? And I want to equate what Sony's doing to the game industry pretty much what they're doing to the fucking music industry. Right? Just bring that ethos over to games, and that's what they're doing. Right? Profits aren't enough. Record profits must be made. I don't know if you know this. I want to assume you do, but I'm not gonna do that. Launch PS5s launched with a large and robust heatsink.
Mm-hmm.
Right? In 2021, the standard PS5s received a revision. It had a smaller, lighter, and less efficient heatsink that made the fans work harder. Right? So now your electric bill, yeah, it might be like, 20 cents. That's 20 cents that shouldn't be coming out of your pockets every single month. Right?
True.
In 2023, they released a major revision, the PS5 Slim, even sadder in comparatively to size, even sadder than the 2021 revision. Right? Unlike the Series X, manufacturing costs have gone down considerably for the PS5. Right? Series X costs have pretty much stayed at the same expense for Microsoft's end. PS5 costs have actually gone down quite a bit, and none of that has been passed on to the consumer, bro.
I remember a time where, the Slims would come out or the revisions would come out and it'd be a price drop. Who remembers that?
Right? I put up a tweet earlier. I'm like, in any other generation, in any other era, that PS5, that regular PS5 is going down to $350, $400, and the PS5 Pro is coming out at $500, $550.
Yeah. I think I was saying that shit yesterday too. I said that same shit.
Exactly. So, gaming has become more popular, but sales also haven't grown since the 90s, right? PS1 sold, I think, 102 mil. PS2 was 155. PS3 was 88, 89 mil. PS4 was, I think, 120 mil when they last reported it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, like, more people are into gaming, but these platforms aren't really selling either. Right? And it's just like you said, it's not sustainable. Right? And that makes me want to segue into the whole software and development side. This whole throwing more power at an underlying issue is a short-term fix. Right? It's superfluous. I said that earlier as well. Video game development, for the most part, is crunched in time by publishers, and development leads or project managers, like, they tend to follow and even encourage awful development practices in lieu of saving time and in turn costs. Right? The only publisher or dev I can name after some research today that can not only sustainably but justifiably support these ballooning costs are Rockstar and Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Even Sony, with all their licensing and storefront cash, are feeling the pain of these development cycles. Right? And another thing that pisses me off of the industry right now is there's the development techniques that have been introduced and designed to be used sparingly, like AI upscaling, DLSS, FSR, and now PSSR with PlayStation, dynamic resolution. Right? These were introduced to address several key challenges in development, and these motherfuckers are using them as crutches. Right? And now we're faced with these, like, a dependency on these technologies, right? Inconsistent experiences between FSR, DLSS, and now PSSR. And something that I feel like a lot of people aren't even talking about or, like, considering is the long-term compatibility issues on games that rely too heavily on these technologies, especially once NVIDIA and AMD and especially PlayStation stop supporting them. Right? So there are instances where more power is necessary, right? Absolutely. Like, once the base PS4 had hit 2019, like, RAM was not so much an issue, but the CPU and GPU were bottlenecking the crap out of developers, right? And even internally at Sony, they were concerned about that. The PS3, obviously, with 256 megs of RAM, like, you can't keep on supporting something like that.
For sure.
But we're talking about a console, right, that is dedicated to playing games. That is its sole purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, a PC, you're running Creative Suite, you're running Microsoft Office, you're running games and having YouTube videos and streams playing on the background. You pop up a PS5, you are only playing games on that thing. Right?
Yeah.
So here you have a device dedicating 16 gigs of RAM, an 8-core 16-thread CPU, right? a 2.23 gigahertz GPU, you have 10.28 teraflops. That is 10.28 trillion floating point operations per second, my guy.
I don't know
Right?
what the
And
fuck
a
that means. That
custom
shit sound
internal
like a
system
lot.
faster than any. I'm sorry.
I said, I don't know what the fuck that means. That shit sound like a lot.
It's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot, right? And a custom internal SSD faster than any NVMe 4x4 sticks available today. And the sole purpose of this console is to play games, not do all that other bullshit.
Yeah.
There's no need for a pro, right? And people saying like, "Oh, I need more power, I need more this, I need more that." You're comparing on paper a PC to a console. It's like people that used to yell about Android and iOS, like iPhones having 2 gigs of RAM,
Yeah.
but still running smoother than an Android with 8 gigs of RAM because it was optimized better.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's the similar concept, right?
Here's my thing. Another thing with the PS5 Pro too is like, chat. Y'all let me know. Have y'all experienced any game on the PS5 that you felt like was like, damn, this is pushing it to its limits, bro? Because I remember when I played like The Last of Us on PS3, I was like, holy shit. Like this, you got every last drop out of this PS3. Like to get any better than this, we need that upgrade. There has been nothing on PS5 where I'm like, yeah, this is pushing it. And like we need to see like I want to see what the next generation pushes. I feel like we didn't even hit the peak of the PS5 yet, and they're already releasing a Pro. Like when the PS4 came out, like when I was playing like God of War or some shit like that, I'm like, okay, this is probably the limit of what PS4 can do. Like, so when the PS4 came or when the Pro came out, I was glad to get that because I'm like, okay, we get to see like what things can look like with just a little bit more power. And with the PS5 Pro, like there hasn't been a damn thing where I'm like, this is pushing it.
Yeah, and let's not forget that during the PS4's life cycle, 4K TVs became prevalent. So the Pro kind of became like
True.
Kind of like that little gap between, or it closed the gap between 1080p and 4K, right? When in 2013, when the PS4 came out, ain't nobody touching a 4K TV at the time. There were like 2,000 beans. By 2017, 2018, you can buy a 4K TV for like $350, $400. Right?
I just want to chime in real quick. People saying Wukong. The only reason why Wukong is pushing the PS5 is because of poor optimization. Wukong is not like you look at Wukong and you look at Demon Souls. Demon Souls is better, like presentation wise, graphically, in pretty much every single way. Like so, like to me, I think that's not really a comparison. It's just poorly optimized. Same thing with Rebirth. Same thing with FF16.
That's what it is. It's optimization, right? When I play a game like FF16 and my PS5 is struggling, I'm not looking at the PS5 like, damn, bro, I need a new PS5.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Square Enix like, yo, what the fuck did y'all do?
Yeah.
All these years developing this game, right? Like, dev cycles should be faster, right? 2 to 3 years for what would have taken 3 to 4 on PS3 or 5 to 7 on PS4, right? Load times haven't seen a huge decrease. Why do you think that is? Because more games are reliant on test servers and being connected all the time. More games are complicating themselves with games as a service and multiplayer modes. So like SSD speeds don't really matter when someone in main is downloading data at 10 megabits per second, you know? Right? And games that have focused on single player experiences have felt these faster cycles. Spider-Man, Astrobot was made by a team of around 60 people in 3 years from concept to release, my guy.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone chasing that golden goose will continue to suffer. And many of these developers and publishers like aren't making games because they want to. And obviously capitalism, right? They're making it because the almighty dollar demands them to. Uninspired, lazy, right? And the biggest issue that I take with all of this, right, is that unfortunately these producers will take advantage of the uninformed and continue to misinform them, right? Convince them that they need more when all they're doing is putting a small band-aid over a deep wound. And I also want to make like this point because I saw a few people on Twitter saying this earlier, and I feel like I just have to. Video games are not a luxury, and that argument is moot. Right? If you make that argument, you drink the Kool-Aid. You are financially illiterate.
This is another thing I wanted to say too. You reminded me. People like to bring up that like the PS1 relative to when it came out was like $600 or some shit if you compare it to like today's money or whatever. But at that time, video games were kind of a luxury at that time because like there was like this cutting edge of technology. Like it was like something that like was unprecedented. It was like a new form of like technology. Like for example, when Blu-ray DVD players came out, they were like as expensive as a PS3. That's why the PS3 was so expensive when it came out, because Blu-ray players by themselves, to just watch a Blu-ray DVD, those were like $400 alone. But then as technology improved and got better, you can get a Blu-ray player now for fucking 10 cents at a thrift shop. Like this is what the advancement of technology should be doing. Also, when a PlayStation was $600, people owned their homes and people owned their cars, you know, and they had their mortgage rates were like fucking 3-4% or even lower in cases, right? Like mortgage rates were lower, interest rates were lower, debt was lower, the economy was much better. So they could fucking splurge $600 on a fucking goddamn PlayStation because fuck, they had the money to. But now, nigga, mortgage rates is like 6-7%. If you could even afford to buy a house, rent is fucking $1,500 for a goddamn a shitty ass studio. If you live in like a major city, or if you live in a city at all, nobody can fucking afford groceries. Nobody can afford rent. Nobody can afford any of this shit. So it's not the same thing. Like a PS5 Pro being $700 now is not the same thing as a PS1 being $600 in the 90s.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I completely agree, right? And that's why I say like that argument is moot. And if you make that argument, I believe that you are financially illiterate and you're out of touch, right? Because I think that video games are for everyone. Don't let anyone tell you that they're not, right? I grew up in a single mother household making less than $35,000 a year. And my mom got me PS2s, 360s, PS3, a Wii, a DS Lite, and a PSP throughout my childhood, right? And those kept my two brothers and I entertained, while the actual luxuries in life, like vacationing, visiting other countries, going to WWE events or baseball playoff games, were barred from us. Right?
Yeah.
Do not financially support video game gatekeeping. Like, it is wrong. And if that's your stance, you are wrong.
I agree.
That's all. I just had to get that off my chest because these motherfuckers are making like so much money. So much money. And to hear people talk about like, oh, it's like, to hear them, not people, but like actual companies like Sony and Ubisoft and EA and 2K and Rockstar come on and like, oh, video games are expensive. Like, you guys need to shut the fuck up, pay your workers, hire people that actually know what they're doing, stop crunching these people, and release good games. And trust me, we won't be sitting here crying about games being broken 24/7.
He kind of just shit it.
All right, that's all, bro. I just had to get that off. Is there anything else that you want to say?
Nah, we're cool.
All right. You take it easy, brother.
All right, bro. Thank you for talking. The biggest reason why I still like console gaming and why console gaming is important to me is obviously because if you're playing stuff on PC, you know, you can't really have the physical game. You can't really play physical games like that. You can't really do that, right? So the physical games thing is a huge part of it, but also like sometimes like I just like to like, I don't know, there's something about playing on a console that's just as simple. You know, I launch the console, play the fucking game, pop the game and whatever, I'm chilling. Like that's it. Just play the fucking game. So I still feel like consoles still have or still had their place, but like if console prices keep increasing the way they do and there's no physical media, then there is really no point to not being a PC gamer because PC games are actually pretty much the best form of video game preservation we have, you know? Sony doesn't want to sell you PS3 games or PS2 games, emulate them. You know, you can play them on your PC right now. PC gaming, baby. You feel what I'm saying? There's an old PC game that doesn't work on Windows 10 anymore. I almost guarantee you there's some random nigga on Reddit that like made the game work on Windows 10 now and now you can play it, or Windows 11 even, and now you can play it or whatever, right? Like there's so many different things like that on PC that adds to the video game preservation that, you know, you just don't get on consoles. If Sony decided to wake up tomorrow and like ban my account, I lose every PlayStation game I've ever purchased in my entire life, digitally. Now, obviously, Steam can do that as well, so you're not immune to that on Steam. But if Steam were to do that to me, I would steal every fucking game I had. I could steal every man. Fuck you, bitch. That's video game preservation. Like, and that's the fucked up part. Like, honestly, piracy has done like so much damage to people's perception of shit. Piracy is actually the best form of video game preservation out there. Because like once you have those files, once you have that program out there, like that's there forever, bro. You can't get rid of that. And you know what the fucked up part is, chat? You know what the fucked up part is, chat? At some time or some point this year or early next year, Nintendo is going to host a direct. And they're going to announce a console that is less powerful than your iPhone and is about on par with the power of a base PlayStation 4. And everybody is going to lose their fucking minds and be very excited for it. Unless they charge like $600 for it, which I don't think they do that. But, and everybody is going to get excited. You want to know why? Nintendo just makes banger games. Nintendo makes, I was gonna say makes the games accessible, but after waiting for 6 years, the game's still gonna be $60. But regardless, easy to play. It's probably still gonna have the Switch formula, you know, portable and home console combination plate. And yeah, Nintendo is an awful company. I feel like every week we're talking about something horrible that Nintendo has done. But at the end of the day, and by the way, can we just talk, like, in one console generation, we have gotten Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Odyssey, Fire Emblem, Three Houses. We've gotten Xenoblade 2 and 3. We've gotten Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Pokemon Legends Arceus, a bunch of Pokemon games in general for that matter. We're getting a new Legend of Zelda game like next month, 2 months. We got Metroid Dread. We got Mario Wonder, Bayonetta 3. And by the way, there are many more games that I'm not even mentioning. Many more on the same console generation. We got Spider-Man 2 on PS5. Astrobot. Gotta admit, Astrobot. Generational. I haven't played Astrobot yet, but I can already tell you that's going to be Persona 3 is going to be my game of the year, but like it's a remake, so I kind of feel a little odd about putting that in game of the year, whatever. Like if I remove Persona 3, Astrobot probably going to be my game of the year. I'm just going to be honest. But yeah. And obviously I personally, and here's the thing, like when we talk about like personal experiences, like that's going to be a little bit different, right? Like me personally, I would also throw FF16 in that banger category for like PS5 games, but that game is also out on PC. And if you have the option to play FF16 on console or PC, even if you're somebody who likes the physical games like I do, dude, play it on PC. Like I'm begging you, play it on. It is the PS5 version. You are getting such a worse experience. It's so much worse. Play it on PC. Save yourself. So that one doesn't even, you can't even really throw that in there anymore. But the games that I mentioned for Nintendo Switch, like even if they're not for you, they're like unequivocally bangers. Like you cannot refute like what the streets is saying. Like every game I mentioned on the Switch is an unequivocal banger, right? The only game I mentioned for PS5 that is an unequivocal banger is Astrobot. Like niggas be hating on Spider-Man 2, but I think for the most part you can consider Spider-Man 2 an unequivocal banger. I love FF16. that game is not an unequivocal banger. I'm gonna tell you that shit right now. A lot of niggas do not like that game. This is all exclusive Nintendo Switch games per year. So the first year there was 1-2 Switch, ARMS, Flip Wars, Mario Kart 8, Pokken, Super Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2, Xenoblade 2, Mario Rabbids Kingdom. In the first year of the Switch, it washed the PlayStation. Mario Rabbids, Xenoblade 2, Super Mario Odyssey wash what PlayStation has. Oh yeah, there's not even Breath of the Wild here. How did they miss Breath of the Wild? Did I miss Breath of the Wild? It was on Wii U. You're right. I always forget about that. It was on Wii U. Okay, the next year, Kirby Star Allies. I never played that. Aces, a little disappointing. Pokemon Let's Go, Smash Bros Ultimate, the Torna DLC, Monster Hunter Generations in year 2. Oh my God. Year 3, Astral Chain. Right. Link's Awakening was fire. 3 Houses. Luigi's Mansion 3 for the Liars. Ultimate Alliance 3. Sword and Shield. Super Mario Maker 2. Yoshi's Crafted World. 22. Oh, new. Yo, nigga, the Switch is a crazy ass console. Oh my God, the Switch is bro. The first 2 years of the Switch have washed the first 4 or 5 years of the PS5 Series X generation. Oh my Lord, bro.